What's up, my friends? My name is Josh. I'm your push coach. Excited to hang out with you today. I've got a little bit of a special episode talking about some leadership strategy on how to revive your team. So I run a program called the Six-Figure Inner Circle, very specifically for top leaders in the industry. And I do a lot of teaching and training on a combination of leadership systems and like advanced sales and marketing strategies. One of the things that I find with mentoring a lot of people in the network marketing industry is that in general, and I don't mean this as any type of an insult, but in general, the network marketing industry is a good 5 to 10 years behind on actual marketing strategies. And so I try to bring all of the things that are working in my world as a life coach and course creator to their world and help them to translate it into ways that help them make more sales and also recruit more people to their downline. So today, in that specific program, I open it up with Q&A because I think it's really, really important, not just to teach what you want to teach, but to find out like, what are the real problems that you're struggling with right now? And let's make sure we're solving those problems as like that needs to be the number one focus, is solving the problems you have right now. And one specific leader, she said, Josh, we're struggling to get our team revived. And it feels like, back in 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, like everyone was excited. Everyone loved being a part of the hype of like the big team goal, or like, we're all going to try to go for this rank advance, or like, and it was like, we could announce something and people would kind of immediately get excited about it. And now we announce those things and people are more like, okay, cool, go do that. Like, have fun. And in other words, it's less of a, like, everyone's excited to do it together kind of a thing. And it's more of a, people are kind of like just doing their own thing and aren't coming together with the same collective and collaborate energy. And so, I dug into it a couple different ways, and I want to just share the two. I'm not going to share all three things that I shared on the call, but I do want to share two of these specific perspectives that are going to help you if you're in a similar situation. So the first thing that I asked her is, what is the problem with it being different than it used to be? Like, why is that actually a problem? And of course, as we kind of like dug in, the reality is, things used to work a certain way. And when things work a certain way, first of all, I mean, it's fun to know this is what works and this is exactly what we need to do. And let's just keep building on this, right? But the problem is when we accidentally forget that the world is always evolving. And what worked really well 2016 to 2020, I can promise you would not have worked in, say, 2010. And so what I've personally seen is, I've been doing this since 2015, working with network marketers. And at that time, at 2015, we had like a real big divide in the industry. There were a lot of people in a lot of businesses that were still on kind of like the tail end of doing things in person. And then a lot of other people that were starting to see this big time momentum from doing it online. And I kind of watched as a lot of top leaders are like the way I don't mean this in any negative way, but older top leaders, people that have been around for like several years at that point, were really struggling with this exchange into the online world. And a lot of them weren't willing to grow and evolve and learn the new way of doing things, and they kind of got left behind. And some of them had enough built up residual that they were fine. But for some of those people, those companies have now gone under, and they're now being forced to learn the new way of doing things. Whereas there was this new group of people coming in around 2015, 16 that were kind of like, honestly, a lot of women in their like late 20s, early 30s that were already social media people. And so they were learning how to do business on social media, and things just started taking off and blowing up. And as a lot of 2020, when the pandemic hit, was like the online gold rush. Everything was just magical and easy. And then in the last couple of years, in my opinion, we're entering the new phase. Okay. So it went from being all done in person to being all done online. And now there's like a new shift happening. And I'm not saying that it's changing the vehicle per se. It's not like we're going to like a new place per se. Although I guess you could argue that TikTok is a new place that didn't exist back then. And I do think TikTok has changed things a lot, regardless of what platform you're on, in the sense that, in my opinion, TikTok is kind of what's created a little bit more of a like more distractions. People just want to watch like a 10-second clip and move on and scroll. And in my opinion, that has created a different type of consumer where all of us want something quick. We want something fast. Like that has completely changed. But like, really, this is important. This is so important. Is if we're not careful, we're going to spend so much time trying to figure out how to get things back to how they were that we completely miss out on the next movement. And I'll be super honest, I don't know exactly what the next movement is. I'm not saying that there is a clear, definitive way. I think usually we don't even really know until 4 or 5 years later when we're looking back. But the point that I am making is that if you aren't careful, you are accidentally going to get stuck in an old way and everyone has moved on without you. And so the question should not be, how do we get things to work like they used to work? The question should instead be, what is working now? And how do we grow and how do we adapt as leaders to make sure that we're constantly evolving and that we are constantly on the cutting edge of what is working so that we can pass that on to the people that we lead? And I'm not saying that you need to go spend like 5 hours a day studying trends or anything like that. But my point is, we need to have an open mind and an open perspective. Because if we are not careful, we will carry around this idea that it's harder now than it was then. And when we have this, I'm just going to walk you through like a very, very simple life coaching process that I would be putting you through. This is what we teach in our certification, but this is also what I'd put you through if you were like, let's say, a one-on-one client. If the story you have is things are harder now than they were then, our story or our thoughts churn into feelings. And when we think about things being harder, it creates immediate feelings of stress and overwhelm and hopelessness. So our thoughts turn into our feelings, and then our feelings turn into our actions. When we are feeling hopeless, frustrated, overwhelmed, exhausted, the actions that we normally take are, we do less actions. We try less to get things to work, because when we're feeling hopeless about the results of our work, we usually do less of that work. Some of you will push through and be like, well, I just do it anyways. But I would call that unaligned action, meaning you're doing the things because you know you're supposed to do the things, but there's no belief behind it. There's no energy behind it. There's no creativity behind it. It's literally just you checking off boxes. And so our thoughts turn into our feelings turn into our actions, and then our actions ultimately give us the results. So when we step away, when we take less action, when we're having forced actions that are out of alignment with who we are, we end up manifesting that things are literally harder. And so what we have to do is we have to pivot away from this. We have to become very self-aware. We're in a season where a lot of leaders are struggling with a lot of these thoughts and feelings and accidentally manifesting a season of hardship. And what we need to do instead is ask, why do we even care about this? Like, why do we even want to help people? And as we answer this question, we start to lock into our purpose. We start to lock into our potential. We start to lock into our superpower. And I'm not saying that this fixes all the problems. I am going to talk a little bit about strategy in this little mini episode as well. But the first problem is always dealing with our own thoughts and beliefs, because that's the first thing and really the only thing we can fully control. If we're stuck in a cycle of why is it different? Why is it hard? Why isn't it working? We create more of that. When we instead tap into, I want to help every single person in the world because I know people are struggling and I know people need what I have. And I don't want people to have to go through this alone. And I don't want people to have to do this without the resources the way I used to have to. Now, all of a sudden, I create feelings of purpose and hope. Those thoughts lead to the feelings that get me to actually take the positive action it takes for this to actually get easier. Nothing is going to get easier while we're sitting around looking at problems. It only gets easier as we're out on a quest to solve problems. And that's one of the prayers that I say with my kids in the morning, is that we ask that God would give us the solutions to the problems that are happening in the world so that we can make the world a better place. That is literally our job as leaders, friends. Our job is to find problems and then create the solution. It's not our job to wake up and have an easy life or an easy day or an easy business. We are literally in the business of solving problems. And if there are no problems to solve, we probably don't have much of a business. So embrace the fact that we get to learn, we get to grow, and we get to create whatever the next big thing is. We are going to get to do that if you lean into it. But now let's talk about the second problem, which is what I call a seed problem. So anytime I see a problem manifesting at the end of the pipeline, I want to go back to the very, very, very beginning of the funnel, which is our advertising, our marketing, our messaging. Okay. So one of the things she said was that, like she really misses when people came together as a team and wanted to be part of something. I said, so if that's what we want at the end of the pipeline, then we need to insert that into the beginning of the funnel. We need to talk way more on social media about how much better it is to do things with a team, about how more fulfilling it is when you have people on your side, about how much more exciting it is when you do things together with other people. So for her, she's a health and wellness coach. So, going to the health and wellness goals, it's more fun, it's easier, and it's more productive when we do it together. The business side, it's more fun, it's more easy. Like, we need to go back to the root of the problem and start there. It doesn't fix the problem by today, but what we're doing is creating a new motion so that 2 months out, 3 months out, 6 months out, we have an entire pipeline, an entire funnel full of people that want to be team players. And then guess what? We don't have to convince people to be team players because they came in as team players. So when it comes to our leadership, friends, this is really important. We are always in control. It might not feel like it. There's a lot of moving pieces that are outside of us, but there is always a way for us to take control. We have to be very, very careful about the energy by which we ask questions. Instead of what is wrong and why isn't this working, how about what is wrong and what can I do to fix it? I want you to take a minute today and I want you to ask yourself, what is the biggest problem you're having in your leadership or even in your business today? And are you accidentally making that problem bigger and harder by constantly focusing on how hard it is? Or are you pivoting your focus to how do we solve these problems? What am I in control of? What can I learn? How can I change? How can I adapt? And friends, that is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about my certification. It is literally equipping leaders with a better way to help their people. We're not living in a hype age anymore. We're living in an age where people want specific solutions that help them. More specific, that's what life coaching is all about. But we also have a really cool challenge going on as I'm recording this live. It's next week. So it's May 14th through 18th. The link, if it hasn't already happened, is at joshcoates.com. You can register for my 5-day leadership challenge. I'll be speaking on 2 of the days. I'll have guest speakers on 3 of the days. And the whole idea is teaching you what is working for us right now. We're going to dive into some leadership stuff. We're going to dive into some social media stuff. We're going to dive into some sales stuff. We're going to dive into some recruiting. And the idea is if we can bring together 15 different people, that's how many speakers we have, from different companies, that sell different types of products. And we can pick the brains of 15 top leaders in the industry and ask, what are you doing right now that's working on social media? What are you doing right now that's helping your sales? What are you doing right now that's helping your team? We end up having this collective, collaborative energy of what is working in lots of different places. And because we're all different people with unique perspectives, unique skill sets, unique approaches, everyone is going to get to find that one or two things that they really need. It's not about learning all of the different things. It's about learning that next one or two thing that you really need right now in this season to get to your next level. So I'd love for you to join that. You can go to joshcoates.com to do that. If that time has already passed, I apologize, but we'll have more coming. I run these events every 2 to 3 months just to add value to the email list. If you're not on the email list, make sure you get on, and you can do that by just going to joshcoates.com and grabbing any of my free resources. We'll get you on the email list, and then you'll be first to find out when we're putting on big events like this, as well as when we have our life coach certification. We're currently in like a pre-launch for that. So like you can join the wait list right now, but we don't have a open way of just like joining it right now because we're a few months out. But either way, get plugged in. I promise you, friend, you do not want to get left behind right now. You need to be thinking forward. You need to be learning, growing, evolving, and adapting because the next gold rush is right in front of us. And it's just a matter of who are the people who are willing to learn and grow and evolve into this next phase to be the front runners of the next phase coming. All right. I love you so much. I believe in you so much. Have such an amazing week. Remember that everything you need is living on the inside, and all the resources you'll ever need are right under your nose. Love you, friend. Have a good one.